Martin Luther King Jr. once said, and I quote it, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere," meaning there is an importance of standing up against all forms of injustice. Hey there, curious mind, you just tuned to the Sot Banat podcast, a gateway to amplifying the voices of the girl child. I am your host, Angeth Kerdeng, together with
Monica Iman. Welcome to yet another episode of the Sot Banat Voice of the Girl Child podcast. And today we're discussing a very powerful topic, which is youth activism and how young people can make a difference in their communities. Youth activism is a potent tool for influencing change in our communities and the nation at large. Being young gives us the ability and opportunity to make changes in our community as we see fit. And on that note, I have three powerful guests with us in the house. And our first guest is Mr. Kenyi Fredrick, who is a passionate youth leader dedicated to mobilizing young people for social change. Our second guest happens to be Miss Jenifa Jopute, who is a young woman that has dedicated her life to using culture in influencing social change with the youth. And our third guest is Mr. Mabor Bol Ater, aka Papa Lee, who uses music as an art to influence change in the youth. Welcome to the Sot Banat podcast.
So, beloved guests, in your own perspective, how do you define youth activism? Or what do you think youth activism is?
I think different people have different definition of youth activism.
Yeah.
It depends on which perspective we're looking at. But personally, for me, I'll say youth activism is participation of youth in taking up responsibilities or something that they're doing in their capacity to make sure that there is change and they're uplifting voices for changes. It can also be resisting against anything that is not profitable for the societies. Just an approved definition.
That's impressive. Mr. Kenyi, in your own perspective, how do you take youth activism?
Yes, thank you. I would like to add on what she has said.
Okay.
And sometimes youth activism is perceived as like the specific or the particular group of youth activating or advocating for something. They are seen sometimes as like they are rebellions or they are doing something against.
That's right.
You know, but I would like to rephrase this and see it as, this specific group of young people, they are visionary people who are looking forward to change. And this is my simple definition of youth activism.
Welcome, Mr. Papa Lee.
أنا ما بتكلم كتير
Okay.
نفسه كلام السيستر قالوا ده من أول امبارح كلمت معك ده أنا سألتك أول الموضوع بتاعكم ده اسمه شنو؟ أنت قلت لي اسمه صوت بنات عشان صوت ده أنا جدا
Wow,
عجبني
that's
شديد
impressive.
يعني في معنى كبير فوقه ودي أول شغل أنا شغال فوقه في ستريت هناك I'm the voice of the street actually.
Wow.
لازم نجيب مع أي حاجة فيه صوت ده لازم نكون موجود عشان كده الجيل الليلة عشان نغير البلد ده يكون سمع ده عنينا شباب ده صوت شباب وصوت بنات كل واحد.
On that note, I just want to ask, you have been in the space of activism. What really moved you as an individual to say, I am here and I'm going to speak up for change and I'm going to influence others to speak up for this change?
Thank you so much. From my own side, I started doing theater drama at the age of 14, and there's so many things that I learned. Back in high school, we have the drama and the music group, and so I became obsessed with learning different cultures about different communities. And I feel like youths are left out when it comes to culture. They thought it's only for older people, so you're not worthy to talk about culture, about history of a particular tribe because you're not well aware or you don't have that information. You're too young. And I feel like there's this gap between youths. And when you talk about such things, among the youths, you're considered either you move back forward, you behave like older people, or they think you're liberated. So there's this gap that we saw that youths are not hugely involved in advocating for culture. We have cultures that are beautiful, that need to be portrayed outside to the world. we have our traditional dances, our dress code, whatever we're doing as South Sudanese, it's not out there because youth has not taken that initiative to put us out there. And so I decided this movement, I was like, I have to be a cultural activist, whereby I will talk about the cultures of South Sudan for people to see that this is who we are as South Sudanese. Our uniqueness makes us who we are. And I can say that since we started Culture Trade Network, which before it used to be called Bright Star for Arts and Culture in 2015, we've seen a lot of changes among the youth. Youths are coming in to take part in cultures. This barrier has been broken, and you can see now confidently youths are putting even their cultural wear to move along the street without feel like judged. Yeah. So I feel like there was a gap that need to be filled. That's why I took up. Yeah, thank you.
What actually triggered me to join or participate in youth activism is one of the things that I asked one of our politicians. Okay. Like, they always, say that you young people, you are the future of the country, and you are, the backbone of the country, and so many things they are saying about youth. But youth are not well involved, especially in the decision-making processes. Like, for instance, they will not even ask us or ask the youth, yes, for your opinion. Like, we are not included. There is inclusion. So one of the things that triggered me is to advocate about our right as young people to, participate fully in the country level, building the nation, and advocating for the things that sometimes concerns us, like just voicing up our voices to them, our concerns, the things that youth are like, Hayat al-Shabab Aizin. We just, communicate it to them in a way that is not, al-Bijiblena Mashakil, for instance. Like here in our country, we have that, freedom of expression is not, it's something that is, yes. So, نوصل صوتنا كشباب لناسنا الكبار بالطريقة الكويس. So this is what triggered me to participate in youth activism.
So, Mr. Papali, ده شنو خلاك تكون عندك نية عشان تونس للناس اللي في الشارع، تكون the voice of the voiceless of the street boys?
شكرا شديدا. Hip hop is a culture. Back in the days في ولاية أنا كان في school, so I started my music there. Then I came to Juba. Then أنا بدأت قلت شباب دارين نجاح كتير. لكن مشكلة هنا there is a freedom of speech, but after speech there is no freedom. شباب كتير بكافوا بفنانين زارة عشان كده فنانين كتار they start phrasing بس people بس لو في زول جديد جابوه في كرسي جابوا قنا بس ما بعرف زول ذاته ده يعمل شنو في تغييرات في شنو عشان شنو ده عشان خوف كده. عشان كده قلت نكون صوت شارع، كون voice of the voiceless. الليلة أنت شايف ناس كتير I got love outside there عشان الكلام ده.
What are the key relevant issues in this country that we see as youth that we must come up and speak up about?
There's when you look at South Sudan as a country, there's a lot of things that we need to talk about as youths. Now, when you look at advocacy, there's so many forms of advocacy.
That's right.
That advocacy through media campaign and also online. There's advocacy through creativity, which is music, and he's doing that already. And expression, which it includes, when we talk about creative sector, it has umbrella of so many things, music. And now when we look down into the history of this country, we will see that all forms of advocacy has been used to where we are right now. For instance, during the struggle, when South Sudan is fighting for the freedom, there's so many ways of advocacy that was used. For instance, we looked at the musician Emmanuel Kembe. When you look at Kembe's song, the previous songs, you will know that he is advocating for something. Not only Kembe, you see other also artists, or the founders of music in this country, to be said, they use music to advocate. We have newspapers that write about, they advocate for what they want to see.
In poetry form.
Yes, in poetry form. There's so many things.
Articles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, currently, issues that are in this country, I can confidently say that when you go outside Juba, in the states of Wilayat, you will see a lot of tree cuttings for charcoal. And when you look in future, we're going to have issues because we are cutting the trees without planting the trees. Climate change, it's going to hit us bad. And that's an issue that we need to advocate for. When we look at some other parts of the country, there's no good schools. People are studying under the trees. How can we use those form of advocacies to reach out? There's so many other things that maybe my colleagues will add, but trust me, looking at even political angle, there's always something to talk about. Advocate for youth empowerment, advocate for policy changes. Let's think, when things are not going well, you can either do a policy change or you can do programs that will help the change. So when we look at the issues that we are facing currently in our countries, this form of advocacy, and it needed youth, because youth have the energy to do those things, to reach out.
That's right.
So yeah.
Yes, I would like to add on what she has said, but from another perspective.
Okay.
Like advocating for climate change and the things that she has mentioned. But one of the things that me personally, I engage into advocating to is patriotism.
Okay.
You know, the younger generation of our country, if you observe their speeches on social media, you know, when they share their opinions on the things that are happening in our country, it's so negative. And it reflects or it shows that, you know, we lack the love
Of our country.
of our own country.
Yeah.
So people are started like, you know, they'll speak or they'll mention lots of things that are not good. So me personally, 2 years back or 3 years back, we advocated for a campaign that is typically is like, you know, we want to reactivate the role of youth in the development process.
Okay.
Like, what are our role as young people?
That's impressive.
And again, we also wanted to instill the spirit of, you know, giving back to the country.
Perfect.
As I've said, I've asked one of the politicians, why are you guys are not giving us the space to do the things that we want to do for our own country? You know, and this is one of the areas that we really need to advocate about.
Okay.
Our country, some people are saying that we are still a young country, and yeah, we are 12 years old, 13 years old, but we are not young
We have
anymore.
the power,
You see?
to run like any
Yes,
other country.
definitely. And how are we going to do it if we are not loving our own country and having that spirit of patriotism? Let's come together, love our country, and we'll be able to do the things that we really wanted to do, and it will contribute into the development of our own country. Yeah.
So what are some of the privileges that the current youth advocates or youth activists have than the past youth activists that would make their activism work more easier than the people in the past?
We can go on the streets and, you know, not machine الظاهر protest because مظاهرات في بلدنا شوية هنا, لكن you can go and speak even to the leaders. And me personally, I did it. I went to their offices and I passed my voice. And this is one of the privileges that I can see. It's yes.
Can I just quickly add something? Because he touched on something that I want. I think also the evolution of technology.
Okay.
Mobilization of for instance, when you see something, people write about it. I've been noticing South Sudanese youth has been so active. For recent years, they are awarding traffic police with the good work they are doing because someone saw them on the road and take a picture and upload it online, and many views went viral. And technology we're able to see the good and the bad. Technology has really impacted the activism.
We're having a challenge with the intergenerational gap, whereby we, as the youth, we're having a problem being accepted by the older generation. We need to be accepted, we need to be heard, we need to be guided. But how will they be guided if the people they are looking up to are not giving the opportunity for them to come up and say, please help me, guide me, I need to be in this position, I need to, because the number of youth that are in the decision-making process We can count them by our fingertips, and
That's
it's
true.
so sad to see that.
What I also realized, come on, the youth, Gabilia.
Okay.
Yeah,
that is
Gabilia,
it.
the Sharp Shiri, they are one of the bad things. Loma, Kalena Gabilia, they will go them in Filan, them in Filan, them in Filan. They want to shine like it down. My sister, Taiga, Alwasira. دارين بس دارين يكونوا مرتاحين يوت ما عندنا مشكلة مع ناس ديل دارين مدارس دارين موية كويس دارين كهرباء دارين انترنت شباب ما عندهم مشكلة يا ده مشكلة هنا.
So, beloved guests, in your own understanding and perspectives, what do you think is the role of social media in youth activism?
Social media, it's one of the vital platforms. Like you can name all the platforms, even the videos.
That's true.
And I really appreciate people who comes live and they communicate sense. ما يتكلموا كلامات الكلامات اللي ما بيود. You see? So it plays a vital role into mobilization زي ما هي قالت.
Yeah.
We'll be able to communicate the positive aspects of our country. ما دائما نوري حاجات البطال عن البلد أو عن الشباب أو عن حالة بتاعتنا في البلد هنا. لكن we'll be also communicate the positive aspects and people will get to know about our country.
Technology has so many roles in activism today.
Okay.
And when we look back to the history of youth activism, a long time ago it was hard. People write letters. This is where we meet to have a meeting.
Okay.
Someone told me, I was asking my mother, can you remember any youth activism that happened in this country that, long time ago, maybe I cannot remember. And she told me during the regime of I think the Sudan or the Arabs, people are meeting in graveyard to have meetings. Graveyards.
Okay.
I was confused. I was asking, it's like students are mobilizing themselves. For instance, if they want to do
Was it
protest.
due to no space or there was a lot of fear?
No,
about-
the fear. Because you're not allowed to meet.
To rebel.
Yes, and discuss issues. So they will never suspect you if you're meeting in the graveyard to have meetings.
Wow, they really
So
had love
one
for
man was telling
activism.
me, guys are meeting in graveyard, planning how we can advocate for A, B, and C.
Okay.
And when he mentioned about freedom of speech, I can really tell, connecting it to what my mother has already told me. So technology, it's very powerful and also very risky. But if we don't use it very well, it can either work for our advantage or disadvantage.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing, we need to use this technology for portraying or to speak about, for creating a peaceful environment. Because now you see technology, you go to this TikTok, there's so many things. You go to Facebook, Twitter was the X. Yeah, and so I think we need to use these platforms wisely as the citizens of South Sudan, as youths, to advocate for peaceful coexistence among the people.
The media is powerful.
Okay.
As is a في فيديو بتاع جانا سهر شغال ورنيج ده
Okay.
لو اسمه علي اسمه علي شوف لقيته فيديو ده اسمه علي آدم لو ده كان زمن لو كان زمن اللي كان قفلوا النت ده جانا ده كان ما بشوفه situation اللي فيه وكده زمن رفعوا فيديو بتاعه ده فات بايرو شديد وناس اللي برا بقوا يفتشوا في الأسرة بتاعه رسلوا له قروش وادوا سكولارشيب من سنة أولى لجامعة سيو مرتاح كلا شغل ذاته في بيت مالو له ركوبة كده ساير في لونغ هناك وده كله ميديا.
So regarding the current status quo to South Sudan, the Nasir effect or Kakuma refugee camp, where South Sudanese are really starving akil mafi. So how can youth interfere there to advocate peacefully? What are some of the means they can use, especially the girl or the female gender?
When we look at the issues that it's happening right now in Kakuma, I watched some video and I almost cried.
It was too much.
It was too much for me to take in.
Yeah.
And when they were asked, why can't you go back to your country? Because this is not your country.
Yeah.
And they're like, if we don't die of hunger here, we will die of bullet or something.
Oh.
And this is something that it strikes me so hard.
That's right.
That I feel like there is not safe, here is not safe, where is safe? Let's use the media Let's use our own youth. Now I'm so happy because youths are out there doing so many things, good things in Juba.
Yeah.
Creating jobs for themselves, creating opportunities, even employing themselves, creating
true.
jobs and employing youths, and which
That's
is something very good. Let's continue with this spirit of peaceful coexistence
Okay.
to attract them to come back home. Because
Okay.
after all, this is our home. This is where we want to settle.
Home
Like
is
for
home.
instance, me, I'm not planning to go anywhere, guys. This is where I want to stay. And for us to live here in peace, let's talk the peace. Let's behave the peace. Because you just don't talk about it. When you go, take a video and say, wow, this is Juba. This is a nice place.
Wow.
This is this. We have our own challenges, but remember, we'll overcome it. There's challenges all over. Look at other East African countries. Even look at our neighbor, Sudan. There's war everywhere. There's hunger and there's everything. So let's use ourselves to advocate and say, we're testimony and this is the country. You guys can come back.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So,
Actually, about the video, it was like something that is so terrible.
yeah, that's right.
وحسيت بانه like شنو اللي بنقدر نعمله عشان نقدر نجيب اخواننا ديل يرجعوا. And this is one of the things she has mentioned.
Yeah.
Creating that environment, that peaceful environment, for them to now feel home, for them to feel safe, that when they are back, they will not die of being shot by bullets, or they will not die because of tribalism. They will not die because of the things that we are struggling with as a country, but they will have a place where now they will rebuild their lives and live peacefully. So one of the things أنا شايف إنه ممكن نقدر نعمله كشباب is to advocate. And إحنا we really need to advocate for.
In what ways?
Raising funds ما حاجة طبعا because كلام بتاع hunger وكده، لكن advocating for إنه بلدنا محتاج يكون كويس عشان أخواننا ديل يرجعوا. خليهم يرجعوا يجي يقعدوا هنا بسلام. ما بنقدر نعيش في محلات تانية بسلام. لكن we can live here peacefully as brothers and sisters. We can coexist.
One of the activists around here, that's none other than Papa Lee, took the lead and he created a song out of the situation and how people are suffering in the Kakuma and the government should really interfere. So, Mr. Papa Lee, mungkin tadina a little bit of glimpse on how the idea came alive.
بتاع كاكوما ده الأسبوع اللي فات أنا كنت مشيت دي حفلة في أبيعي، مشيت أبيعي وجي راجع، يلا طوال الموضوع ده حصل دي استوديو في بيت هوم استوديو. Then I did a spread style كده about the كاكوما situation اللي هم فيه وكده عشان هم مشوا سترايك. هاي نسوان وبنات عيال صغار وديل أولاد وكده. قلت let me do something for them عشان show that ويوصل. I did that and the video سي ماشي كويس، في ناس كتير دقوا لي تلفون قال مبروك وتاسي ساعتنا شديد نازل في كاكوما ذاتها I talk with them قال سي وده ماشي كويس، لكن I mentioned it there also زي أخوي قالوا قلت لهم تعالوا راجعين the home is home يعني في خونا ذاته فيه يعني تعالوا لازم نرجع يعني ما ده ما طريقة أخوك بيموت في عينك بعطش ده وهناك ذاته مقابر بقروش لو ما عندك جنازة بعرقه في عينك ما في طريقة أكيد ترجع بيت.
So beloved viewers, this is the Sot Banat podcast. We are going for a break, very short break. Stay tuned as we enjoy. Thank you. Ciao for now. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Welcome back from the short break. It's still the Sot Banat podcast. And now we are going to conclude with only 2 questions and conclusions from our beloved guest. So dear guest, in your own perspective, what are some of the challenges youth activists and advocates encounter along?
I think you've already mentioned actually one of it, which is like the backlash. Because sometimes when you talk about youth, I think youth started from the age of 18 to 35. Per South Sudan, I think yes, 18 to 35. So now imagine talking to a 50-year-old or a 60-year-old about some changes, and changes are gradually, like I said. So this is something that they've lived with for very long. This is the way they used to do things. Now,
And
definitely,
I hear that you cannot teach an all dog new tricks. I don't know if that's true.
so to be said, but that's the biggest challenge. I remember I encountered this challenge also.
Okay.
I was organizing one of the events, I can say, at the national level.
Okay.
And when I went for a partner meeting, it's a big meeting,
Okay.
and I went with my friend who is the program coordinator for CTN. He was sitting in front, I was sitting behind, and they were asking, okay, who is the director of CTN? Come and do a presentation. And then they were expecting George, because George is tall, huge and big, and look older. But when I stood up, they were like, who are you? And I was like, okay, I'm the managing director for CTN. And they were like, no way. So everything I was saying, you can see the relaxed, like people are just dropping hands and looking at you. This is most challenge that we're facing at the end, because you judge your age. You're a woman. You know, in this country, sometimes not everywhere women are not allowed to address some certain group, the cultures. Now, these challenges are common in this country, because when you're young, especially they look at you and they think you're a Gen Z or a millennial, and they would think you're not supposed to advise the older one. And this is the biggest thing I can say that currently people are facing. To change something, we need to consistently saying it out, and because of that age, sometimes it becomes a problem. Also, gender. And another thing I can say is that so many activism plan, are not supported funds wise. For instance, now it's for you to get, you need to push. For example, if you say we're advocating for Banat, for Sot Banat, and they will be like, it will be now. They will invite you and they will look at you like you're just young, and you. So you cannot. Sometimes it's hard for people to get resources to do things. We're sitting here. True. There's so many resources that has been put for us to be here. We have the crew, we have directors, we have whatever that need to be catered for, and so this is not easy to support, to get the support for such projects. It's not easy. So I think that's the two challenge I can say.
Okay. Yeah. So Mr. Kenyi, you can go ahead.
Actually, she has mentioned it all.
Oh, okay.
But one of the things I would like to emphasize on is the lack of, if I say support or financial wise.
Okay.
But one of the things that I started advocating within my own neighborhood, context. The place that I'm living in, it's near to the unknown soldier tomb, that side of Maghabir bit al-Jund al-Majhul.
Okay.
So I just wanted to share this to give you an idea of one of the hindrances that hinders lots of young people from going out and activate, or do activism or do activities that are meant to address a certain issue. So I went around that tomb and I've seen it. It was dirty, grass, Nijile Ketir Gamfiu, and some of the doors, the main gate was broken. And it's considered as a historical, place.
Okay.
For Ketirim in Nas Bitan al Kubar, fi Jesh, fi Wen al Matu, they are buried there. So I've asked myself, what can I do within the limited resources that I have?
Oh my God.
So I gathered lots of young people around, and we started going into that place, cleaning it.
Mm.
And it reached up to the level of, the general or the person who was in charge of that side reported to the Ministry of Defense. And he said there are a group of young people, they came and they're doing this and they're doing that. And we went up to the level of meeting the minister. Wow. Because he was so impressed the things that we have done. سألنا قال انتوا شباب انتوا لقيتوا قروش وين تعملوا الكلام ده؟ قلنا له احنا من جيوبنا عملنا كلام ده. So we fixed the main gate and we cleaned the site, and even they came and they visited. So احنا ما نشوف له hindrances with limited resources, but there are things that we can do it at our own level في مستوى بتاعنا المعين اللي احنا عايشينه.
So Mr. Papali, في صعوبات إنت كان لقيتوا زمن تبدأ activism بتاعك in form of music?
A lot of challenges زي ما أخوي قالوا. لكن أنت if you depend on those stuff تمام بمشي قدام.
Okay.
إذا أنا المرة اللي فاتت أنا مشيت في السجن مشيت في السجن عشان نازل في السجن ده دايرين مورال.
Okay.
I did a song في السونج كده بيقولوا أراني شوف أخوي ده في السجن
Okay.
راسه قوي ما نافع لكن لازم نمشي له
Oh my God.
نزوره
So
شفتها
touching.
يلا challenges كتير. This is المزيكا بتاعنا ده support ما في وأفلات ذاته ما في فيديو ما في لكن بس challenges كمية لكن على كريم بس لو في زول برا هناك وعندك صوت you can try.
Can I just add something so quickly? I'm also, like I said, I act and also manage artists. One of the things that I can confidently say that for looking at artists, they usually consider you to be either negus or someone who is not
That's
worthy.
the perception.
Yeah, the perception.
Okay.
I have a dance group that is going to represent South Sudan at internationally.
Impressive.
And then, actually, this was before. During their dance, I think they were looking for help for flight tickets because they were already given a go-ahead, but you need to use your resources to come. They didn't manage to go because no one was willing to invest on them to go and represent the country outside. Yeah, so we need to really think about that. Those challenges are not good. Support the young people. They're going out there to raise the flag of South Sudan, not individually.
That's true. So what are the best ways to fight against those challenges? And what are your personal remarks to the young girls out there and to young youth advocates outside there?
I will start by saying, use whatever that you have.
Okay, start with whatever you have.
Utilize the things that you have.
Okay.
We have lots of potentials, lots of skills as young people. And whatever, finance مثلا زي قبلك ذكرنا, finance they are talented in speaking.
Okay.
وناس مثلا بعرفوا يعملوا poetry أو share. So use it as a method of advocating for change, advocating for the positivity that you wanted to see
by yourself.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll say don't stop. Please don't stop.
Okay.
It's challenging. You receive a lot of hateful comment. You receive a lot of discouragement, but don't stop. The reason why I'm saying this is because it's worth it. As long as you're doing something that is going to benefit, it's going to change the society. Advocacy is not only changing; it can also be for individuals. You need this person to change. You will do like active advocacy for that person to change. Don't stop. Just start it and then continue and find the right people that support you out.
رسالة بتاعك أخير لبنات صغار برا هناك بيعينوا فوقك.
رسالتي للبنات يا سيستا I feel so bad. في بنات كتار كريين برا هناك وما لاقين شغل. هسه لو مشى مكتب زول كبير بيقول له انت خلي السي في بيت وتعالي في اوتيل وكم من اجار وحين كده شفت سانجري لأن نقول لاخواتي اللي برا هناك شيلها لك بس don't stop, keep your head up, one day you will make it. Yeah.
That's perfect. So we came to the conclusion of the Sot Banat podcast on the topic youth activism. I am your host, Jenifa Jopute, for the Sot Banat podcast together with
Monica Iman. And on that closing note, I'd like to say that we as youth must now be the change that we seek. If you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. Thank you for being here today, and we remain the Sot Banat podcast. Stay tuned to all our social media platforms, follow us, and watch all our videos. Thank you.